people who are affected by COVID-19 and who may go back to poverty because of the COVID-19. We should strengthen the efforts to help them. So the topic for today's press conference is to strengthen assistance of poverty alleviation in rural areas. We have with us Director General Chen Hongbo from Policy and Regulation Department, Level 1 Inspector Mr. Wu Hua from the Department of Development Guidance from the Poverty Alleviation Office of the State Council, and Mr. Zhao Zhenxin, the First Party Secretary of the Pingshitou Village, Longquanguan Township, Fuping County, Baoding City, and Hubei Province. So they will take questions concerning today's topic. First of all, let me give you the update of the pandemic. Yesterday, between 0 and 24 o'clock, China's mainland reported that for newly increased confirmed cases, there are 6, including 2 overseas imported cases, respectively 1 in Jilin and 1 in Shanghai. 4 are indigenous cases, respectively 3 in Heilongjiang and 1 in Guangdong. There's no newly increased fatal case, and there are 2 increased suspected cases. Both of them are overseas imported in Shanghai. Yesterday, there are 50 cases cured and discharged from hospitals. Close contacts removed from medical observation, numbers 607. For severe cases, the number dropped by 6. For overseas importation, now there are 769 confirmed cases, including 32 severe cases. For remaining suspected cases, the number is 17. In total, the number of confirmed cases is 1,618. The number of cases cured and discharged from hospitals is 849, and there's no fatal case. By the end of yesterday, China's mainland reported that for remaining confirmed cases, the number is 915, including 57 severe cases. In total, the number of cases cured and discharged from hospitals is 77,257. Fatal cases, 4,632. Reported confirmed cases, 82,804. For remaining suspected cases, the number is 20. In accumulative terms, the number of close contacts traced, 728,590. Close contacts still under medical observation, 8,362. For Hubei, yesterday, there was no new increased confirmed case, nor suspected cases, nor remaining suspected cases, nor fatal case. For cases cured and discharged from hospitals, 22. There are remaining 47 confirmed cases, including 1 severe case, all of them in Wuhan. In total, the number of cases cured and discharged from hospitals is 63,569, including 46,417 in Wuhan. The total deaths tally is 4,512, including 3,869 in Wuhan. The total confirmed cases number 68,128, including 50,333 in Wuhan. The provinces, municipalities, and Xinjiang Production and Construction Corp reported that there have been an increase of 34 for asymptomatic infection. 1 is overseas imported, and 3 cases were transferred to confirmed cases, and 36 cases are removed from medical observation, including 10 overseas imported. For asymptomatic infection still under medical observation, the number is 979, including 157 from overseas importation. In total, from Hong Kong, Macau, and the Taiwan regions, the confirmed cases number 1,507, including 1,035 from Hong Kong SAR, 45 from Macau SAR, and 427 from the Taiwan region. Yesterday, Hubei now has less than 50 confirmed cases. So for 20 days in a row, there's no new increased confirmed case. Over the past 10 days, we can see the overseas imported cases are dropping continuously. However, there are still related indigenous cases reported, so we need to identify the whereabouts for the confirmed cases, suspected cases, and the close contacts to remove the potential risk. We've just received the information that as the last severe case was cured today in Wuhan, the number of severe cases in Wuhan becomes 0. So that's all for the update. Now we will have the Q&A. Please focus on today's topic and put forward your questions. Please first identify yourself. Now the floor is open. The first question on the right, on the front row, the second journalist, please. With CCTV, due to various reasons, especially the COVID-19, is it possible that some of the people who have already been relieved from poverty will go back to poverty again? And what are the precautions taken to prevent such cases? We will have Dr. D.G. Chen to take the question. Thank you for your question. It's a very good question. Let me first share with you some data. By the end of last year, we have 93 million people who have already realized the poverty alleviation, accounting for 90.7% of the total. Among the people who are relieved from poverty, it is objective and justified to see some people go back to poverty because of various reasons. However, we can see that over the past years, the quality of poverty alleviation has been constantly improved. In order to guard against the returning back to poverty and the trapped into poverty, we have come up with some specific measures. We have 3 major efforts. The first is to conduct a dynamic monitoring and management. At the end of last year, for those registered and not so stably alleviated from poverty or the marginal households, we've conducted a survey. We found that the number was close to 2 million and 3 million respectively. Due to COVID-19, the numbers may increase. That's why recently we conducted another round of intensive survey and included the vulnerable population into the poverty alleviation system. And the second is, once we identified the vulnerable population, we come up with 3 help policies. The first is for targets who are having the capacity to work, and we can provide them with favorable loans or small microfinance. They enjoy the same treatment for those who have already been included in the list. And second, we provide the trainings, especially the occupational skill training. And the third is to provide job opportunities in the villages. Thirdly, we have strengthened the measures implemented to alleviate poverty and conduct the policy evaluation to address the outstanding problems. We have this mechanism set up with the aim to have early detection of such potential risks so as to improve the result.
Next question. Journalist from the first row on the left side, please. Thank you. With the Hong Kong-China review, the development of major projects will employ the people from poverty-stricken areas. How can they apply to be a member employee of these major projects? Are there online report and application channels? I'd like to ask Inspector Wu Hua to take the question. employment opportunities means the channels and sources of income. 2/3 of the poor families' income is from the migrant working. Therefore, as we fight against poverty, the creation of jobs is a priority. To create jobs, we focus on 5 priorities. We prioritize the learning of needs among the poverty-stricken populace. And second, we prioritize training provided. Third, we prioritize the information dissemination of the job opportunities, the connection between the people and the posts, and also the point-to-point connection, matching jobs with the poverty-stricken populace. Fourth, we prioritize the implementation of favorable fiscal and taxation and financial policies. We prioritize the implementation of incentive policies, including the policies that are to cover the employers, the brokerage agencies. The fifth priority is that we prioritize the development of key projects and the flagship companies and incentivize them to employ the poverty-stricken population. You've been asking, how can the poor apply for the jobs? They can go to their towns and townships and villages. They can go to the village committee to apply for the job on these major projects. Second, they can go to human resources departments, or they can go online, go to the websites of the human resources authorities. Third, as we set up some matchmaking programs, the government will issue the posts and the job needs by the enterprises. Once the local people see such opportunities, they can go directly to enterprises who are recruiting employees. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the second row on the left side. Thank you. With the CCTV.com, what is the resumption rate of the poverty alleviation projects? What has been the difficulties, and what are the solutions? If the poor left home to find jobs but failed to find jobs, they will have to go back to their hometowns. If they want to find jobs in their hometowns, are there any supportive measures? I'd like to ask Inspector Wu Hua to take the question. Thank you for your concern on the jobs of the poor. On February the 28th, we've set up an analysis system. On a weekly basis, we renew and update the data of business resumption. According to the latest data in April, 280,000 poverty alleviation projects have come back to operation, 74% and above among the total poverty alleviation projects. We have shifted from the weekly rescheduling to monthly rescheduling. On April the 30th, we will have new data released on our official website. We welcome your continuous attention to the changes and updates. There are some difficulties of the resumption of businesses and the restricted flow of production factors have led to some impacts. In response to the difficulties, we've adopted the following measures. We've accelerated the distribution of funds, encouraged the local governments to set up green and faster tracks of government procurement, encouraged local governments to contextualize dynamic adjustments in light of the pandemic unfolding. In particular, prioritize the income promotion projects and prioritize job opportunities for the poor. We've also engaged the public in these projects. The poor not only seek cross-province jobs, we also encourage the local employment for the poor population. We encourage the poor farming households to be engaged in local poverty alleviation projects and find jobs. There are several channels to enhance the local job creation. The local poverty alleviation flagship companies have been supported to resume their business, thus absorbing local poor population as employees. Second, we've set up some role models who have been playing an exemplary role. We have 330,000 such role models. If one such a pioneer can lead the growth of 3, then that means a total of 3 million will be lifted out of the interim poverty. And we also have 1 million people who are working as the safeguarders of the forests. We also use the PV panels for generation of electricity, and the PV panels employ 1 million. There are also those who are designated as who to safeguard the highways. Apart from these designated posts, there are also agriculture-related job opportunities open for local workers, in particular local poor. These are also great opportunities for the local poor. So we have altogether these 4 above-mentioned channels to encourage the local governments to create job opportunities for the local poor. Thank you. Next question, please, journalist from the second row on the right side, please. With China Community News, as we fight against the pandemic and pursue further with poverty alleviation. So what has been the role of the local government organizations? I'd like to ask DG Chen Hongbo to take the question. That's a very important question. COVID-19 has exerted impact on the resident supporters for poverty alleviation. However, most resident coordinators and supporters have striven to be back on their workplaces. For those who couldn't come back to their posts, they used telephones and online ways to contact the poor that they helped. At the end of March, 99% of the resident supporters have been back to their posts. The resident supporters have been fighting on 2 battlefields, one for the fight against COVID-19 in terms of the dissemination of information. The local ways of information dissemination has been carried out by these resident supporters. Second, they have been screening over the prevention control measures, and they have been monitoring the situation, following the registration to prevent imported cases and cross-infection.
Thirdly, to raise the anti-epidemic supplies, because at the village level, it is not so easy to get access to the anti-epidemic supplies. So these village-based staff can offer help. So they serve as the organizer and the coordinator for the access to the anti-epidemic supplies. In terms of poverty alleviation, they've also done a lot. First of all, they can analyze the impact of COVID-19, and also they know the local situation, and they can organize the migration or the migrant workers, and also the various related projects. So indeed, you can see that this village-based work actually is the last mile to accomplish the poverty alleviation. We have some new rotating officials or staff working at the village level, and recently we've already worked out specific arrangements to provide trainings to such staff. The aim is that by the end of June, the training can be accomplished. Okay. Mr. Zhao, would you like to add anything? Good afternoon. I'm from the General Office Bureau of the State Council, and in the year 2018, I was dispatched to work in the village. So I've been working in the village for about 3 years. My most impressive, or the deepest impression that I have had is that the work I've been doing is really great. For instance, in my village, there are 688 people, and in the year 2014, the number was 432. At that time, 66% of the village people were poverty-affected people, and the per capita income was less than 2,000 RMB yuan. So over the past years, we've made a lot of efforts to enrich or to make the village richer. By the end of 2018, we've already accomplished the high-quality poverty alleviation in the village. At the moment, the per capita annual income is more than 10,000 RMB yuan. So when I work in the village, when I found that people's living standards are improving and people are getting richer, as they are well motivated, and my village is getting more and more beautiful, I'm really excited and greatly encouraged. So indeed, such residential work to help poverty alleviation is really proud. I'm really feel proud of what I have done. Okay, Mr. Zhao has said something about the work in the village. He is one of the 2.8 government officials who are now dispatched to work in the village and help alleviate poverty. They are helping the villagers to get rich, and we really appreciate their efforts. Now let's continue. On the right, on the third row, the lady reporter, please. Thank you. With National Business Daily, during the outbreak and pandemic, many people went online to buy agricultural produces. We noticed that recently the Poverty Alleviation Office issued the policy document to facilitate such online shopping. Could you please elaborate on it? We will have DG Chen to take the question. Thank you for your interest in this question. Indeed, now we have these online direct broadcasting or direct shopping. This has become an important approach because by doing so, the produces in the poverty-stricken areas can be sold online, increasing the income of the village people, and also for urban residents, they can use this online shopping as an important channel to get access to the green and organic produce in the rural areas. Since the outbreak, we've made a lot of effort to encourage such online shopping and consumption. There are mainly 4 efforts we have made. The first is we have the government procurement of produces in rural areas, and the second is led by the government. The developed and underdeveloped areas set up the partnership to market these produce, and the third is the companies take the initiative and market the produces, and the fourth is we have the online platform to sell the produce from the poverty-stricken areas. Also, we have provided the accreditation to the produces from the poverty-stricken areas, and 248 billion yuan worth of agricultural produces from the poverty-stricken areas were certified, and the developed eastern part of the country has already procured 2.7 billion yuan worth of such produce. We have facilitated the various steps in the transportation and the logistics, and also we have offered the favorable policies concerning the sales and the production of such products. And thirdly, for products that are of large volume and large value, and also which can greatly promote poverty alleviation and relevant approaches, we will identify them as the models for poverty alleviation. The local governments are encouraged to provide assistance to the poverty-stricken areas to sell their agricultural produces. Policy supports are provided. So with the China Poverty Alleviation Network, we are to continuously issue the product catalog, the list of qualified products, and also to have various innovations and make direct and dynamic reporting of such initiatives. Okay, let's continue. On the left, on the third row, the gentleman, please. Good afternoon. From Farmers Daily. For poverty alleviation agencies, what are the support they have given to the occupational training? Are there financial subsidies offered for such occupational training? We will have Mr. Wu Hua to take the question. Thank you for your question. Training involves 3 aspects in poverty-stricken areas. The first is the production skill training for the farmers so that they can use scientific knowledge and cultivate their land and also the animals. And the second is for the poverty-stricken families, and in particular graduates of high schools, junior high school and senior high schools. They will be given the chances to receive occupational or vocational training. So they will get the skills for employment. And the third is for the adults. There are various skill training programs offered to the adults.
All these trainings are based on incentive mechanism. They are for free for the poverty-stricken population. They can get the training for free. Apart from that, on a yearly basis, per student can get 3,000 yuan as a subsidy. The adult have subsidy as well. They get free schooling, training, and subsidies for their transportation costs and living costs. After they successfully get the credit for passing the exams, they can still enjoy the allowances. In the context of the COVID-19 response, most of the trainings are conducted online. The poor can register online and get access to online training. After they are accredited with the online examination, they can again get allowances for the training course. So the incentive mechanism and the allowances have very clear and quantitative standards to follow. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the fifth row on the right side, please. Thank you. With the Hong Kong Economic Herald, the unexpected COVID-19 has brought about economic and social fallout and has enhanced the difficulty of realizing of our goal. For the poverty alleviation critical battle, it is only 200 days ahead of our timeline. So what will be the measures adopted to ensure we can still achieve the target as scheduled? DG Chen Hongbo is taking the question. We know that the year 2020 is the final year of our final win in the poverty alleviation critical battle. Indeed, COVID-19 has brought about unexpected challenges. In particular, the impact is on the poverty alleviation projects and the creation of job opportunities. But in general, 832 poor counties are all in the category of low-risk regions. All the COVID-19 patients among the registered poor have been cured. Therefore, the 2 worry-free and the 3 guarantee policy is under very little impact. We will focus on the following measures to mitigate the impact. First, we have the point-to-point connection of job opportunities and job seekers. We will take multiple combination measures to promote the job creations. The second, we will leverage consumption to alleviate poverty. Third, for the poor who find it difficult to repay their microloans, their loan repayment deadline will be extended to the end of the year. Fourth, on the front of the reopening and resumption of poverty alleviation projects, the central government will increase the funding support and enhance accountability system. And fifth, for those who have slid back into poverty because of the COVID-19 outbreak, they will be covered by a broader poverty alleviation policy. We believe that under the firm leadership of the Communist Party with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, as we carry on the solidarity spirit, we believe we can realize the goal of the poverty alleviation battle. Journalist from the fourth row on the left side, please. Thank you. With Wen Huibao, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on agriculture and rural development? What has been the progress of poverty alleviation? Will we realize this year's goal as scheduled? I'd like to ask Party Secretary Zhao Zhenxin to take the question. Take our village, for example. There has been some impact, in particular at the initial outbreak. We had very rigorous prevention and control policies, delayed some of the projects, and held back migrant workers in their villages. But later, we had parallel emphasis on COVID-19 prevention and control and on the resumption of business. We've carried out the following efforts. First, we focused on the spring plowing. In our village, we have 700 more of the plantation acreage. Most of it is left to the rural cooperative for a highly efficient plantation of apples. The apple farm has come back to normal operation. Second, we've innovated online way of selling. We've contacted JD.com and other e-commerce platform to connect the supply with demand. Walnuts, mushroom pastes, and the other specialties have found ways of selling. We've also contacted Cha Cha Food Company, who has come to procure 16,000 jin or 8,000 kilograms of walnuts. During the COVID-19 response, we've also shifted some of the textile companies' production from the original garment producer to the protective unit production. Fourth, we've been using tourism attractions. We have beautiful scenic sceneries. And also we have one place called Wuya Zhai. We've been using it as a tourism destination and a scenic spot. The projects and development around these scenic spots are in full operation, and this has also created job opportunities to the local. Flowers are in full blossom, and we see the headings and seedlings of the green grasses. We welcome all of you to visit Pingshito village. We are confident that we can have the double win in both the fight against the pandemic and the poverty alleviation goals. I don't think the COVID-19 will be a major impact. Next question, please. Thank you. With the Yangtze Daily News, the COVID-19 has exerted major impact on the livelihood, in particular in Hubei province. Some of the people that have been lifted out of poverty is in the danger of sliding back into poverty. So at the national level, what are the measures adopted to assist the poor in Hubei province? I'd like to ask DG Chen Hongbo to take the question. Thank you for your question. We know Hubei is the epicenter of COVID-19. It has been hardest hit. The COVID-19 did bring major economic and social fallout on the province. The central government pays great attention to poverty alleviation and the COVID-19 response in Hubei province. We've been consulting other departments and decided on some supportive policies in multiple dimensions. First, in terms of funding support, the Central Finance has increased 800 million yuan as earmarked money for Hubei province. We've organized Guangdong, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, altogether 6 provinces to provide 6+1 labor contract services to help the migrant workers from Hubei as of April the 10th. 321,000 Hubei migrant workers have found jobs in other provinces. The point-to-point services have helped 33,000 migrant workers from Hubei province. 498 commodities with a total value of 7.8 billion yuan has been sold from Hubei. We've organized Guangdong province provincial procurement of the crayfish and tea leaves from Hubei province. Hangzhou City has made an investment of 381 million yuan as assistance money. 25% increase will be added, with the total value hitting 500 million RMB.
For the next step, we will continue to strengthen the support to Hubei for poverty alleviation so that the poverty alleviation targets in Hubei can be accomplished as expected and scheduled. Thank you. Let's continue. On the right, on the fourth row, the third gentleman reporter, please. Thank you. With China Daily. Some poverty-stricken households mentioned that affected by COVID-19, access to microfinance becomes more difficult, and they are faced with various challenges in getting access to the microfinance. So what are the efforts to be taken to address this problem? We will have Mr. Wu Hua to take the question. Thank you. This is indeed a policy innovation in China and also a highlight in poverty alleviation in China. I think you can see that there are many highlights or features of such microfinance for poverty alleviation, which makes it easy for the applicants. Also, the government provide subsidies, and the interest rate is quite low. The maturity time is extended, so it's a very favorable policy, truly popular among the poor farmers or households in rural areas, and it is indeed an inclusive finance. So the relevant government agencies like the Central Bank, the Ministry of Finance, and the Poverty Alleviation Office of the State Council have worked out this policy. We wish to provide who need them. So we have set up the relevant mechanism. The banking, the insurance, and the regulatory authorities have jointly set up a mechanism. In every locality, there's a leading bank to provide such microfinance. And the second is with specific targets, because this is an exclusive financial product for the poor households. For farmers or poor households, in the light of their specific situations, they can get well-targeted subsidies so as to enjoy the benefits of this policy. So it's a well-targeted policy and mechanism. Certainly, we have the county, township, and village three-tier servicing system to provide the relevant services. And fourthly, this is a synergy among the various departments. So we have the relevant agencies working together. We have the monthly monitoring, assessment, and coordination, as well as the information sharing. For specific localities, even at the county level, we can make such monthly assessment in the information system. So with these institutional setup, we have strengthened the coordination to ensure everyone who is qualified can access to these financial products. During the outbreak of COVID-19, we made every effort to ensure the sustainability of this particular financial product. Now all the areas in rural are low-risk areas, so they can get easier access to the financial products. Previously, we've already offered the online issuance of the loans, and we have adopted specific approaches to make it convenient and easy for the rural households or farmers to get access. And now we have also expanded the coverage to the marginal population and households. The interest rate is subsidized by the government. The specific financial assistance has been provided in advance. Okay, due to the time constraint, last question, please. On the right, on the third row, the reporter over there, please. Thank you. With Shenzhen TV, we noticed that 31 private companies and non-profit organizations made the advocacy to help the poor areas. However, affected by COVID-19, private sector is also affected. So, will it be possible for the private sector to accomplish the poverty alleviation targets and any policy support for them to accomplish the goals? And we will have DG Chen to take the question. Thank you for your question. Indeed, on April the 8th, the private enterprises and non-profit organizations made this advocacy, and we can see that they have over 90% of the companies and non-profit organizations have already been participating in this initiative. They can enjoy the taxation exemption thanks to their initiative, and also they provide the assistance in the light of the actual needs. So we have focused on the weaknesses and the gaps in poverty alleviation. We believe that the civil organizations and private sector are adopting this approach or this initiative to provide assistance for poverty alleviation. This is a sound demonstration of mutual assistance, which is the fine tradition in the Chinese culture. This is truly a voluntary initiative. It's not a forced assignment. So going forward, we will summarize the experience, promote the best practices, and drive forward such good initiatives. We also call on the private sector and the NGOs to get engaged in such initiative. Thank you. During today's press conference, we have speakers taking questions about poverty alleviation in rural areas. For tomorrow's press conference, we will focus on e-commerce and consumption encouragement. Then we will have officials from the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, as well as other relevant government organizations and agencies to come to the press conference. That's all for today. Thank you.